to have been shaped by this individual as he was my worship professor in seminary. And this is Mark Miller. He's coming today as someone who holds this conversation in a very special place in his heart. This is something that is not a new conversation for him. Mark came out to his annual conference, the Northern New Jersey annual conference at the time, in 1995 for the first time. He also came out to the 2000 General Conference for the first time as a gay man. And so this is not a new conversation, but one that is deeply important to Mark. And so most of you know Mark for the music that he so beautifully creates, for the way that he blesses all of us through his music that is written, that we sing in our churches, and I'm so grateful for that. But today we've asked him to do something a little different. He is here to speak to us today, and so as a speaker, and we hopefully will hear a little bit of something from the piano too, but it is my great joy and pleasure to welcome Mark Miller.
I was going to start with a funny song, but who knew Adam Hamilton was so funny? He's got jokes. I thought he was a straight man, but I mean, you are a straight man. But yeah, I do have to start with a song. I've gotten the chance to play at annual conferences for many years, and what a joy leading music. It's the lifeblood of our denomination. It's how we got started, I would say. And so none of the bishops in the room, by the way, have to worry. It's not anybody here. And I hope you're not watching by live stream. I was playing for an annual conference one year, many years ago, and there was a favorite song of this bishop, and that song was Spirit of the Living God. And it is one of my favorite songs too, but it was a favorite song of mine after the first 300,000 times. We sang it at this particular conference. We sang it and sang it over and over again, after every petition, and finally, in the middle of one sleepy afternoon, I was at the piano, and there was a call for prayer, and the bishop said, "Mark, will you please play Spirit of the Living God?" And I don't know what possessed me at that moment. I don't know if it was the Spirit of the Living God. Is there a mic on this piano? Okay, great. It's about 2:00 on a Tuesday. I literally did this. The regular Methodists shuffle in. I was like, what am I going to sing? What am I doing? There's a bishop sitting next to me. And I knew I couldn't go on to the next part. Asking me to sing this song again. And I said, "Bishop, believe this is killing me." It's the smile ran away from my face. I'm sure that I could be a rock star if I could get out of this place. And on cue, the whole annual conference sang with me. La da 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 da. And then I didn't know what to do, so we just did it in three. Spirit of the living God, fall afresh on me. We got through it and sang a little bit more Billy Joel. That was my funny story, Adam. I would start out by saying that there's something that needs to jar us out of our complacency. There's something that needs to remind us that we need new prayers and new processes. It's time to stop singing the same old songs, only those songs, and debating the same old measures, only the same old policies, and thinking that something different will happen this time. If only we get this resolution just right, something will happen differently this time. As I said to Joe, driving me in, Joe Stobaugh from the airport today, I said, have we seen Peanuts here? Have we seen the cartoon with Charlie Brown and Lucy and the football? Fred Kahn writes brilliantly, Lord, for today's encounters with all who are in need, who hunger for acceptance, for righteousness and bread, we need new eyes for seeing, new hands for holding on. Lord, free us with your Spirit. Free us, make us one. God, free us from those old ways, the old practices and paradigms. You're doing a new thing right here, right now. Just can we perceive it? I just came from the Wild Goose Festival. Anybody here been there before? Wild Goose Festival. A number of folks have asked me, was that in Scotland, in Iona? It's not that Wild Goose with John Bell. It's in the mountains north of Asheville, North Carolina. And after sitting at the feet of Ruby Sales, the incredible civil rights prophet who marched with King at Selma, she was there. I learned from her that we have to be able to hear each other's stories. We have to be able to hear where each other come from. Each of us have our own unique and beautiful story, and we have to learn how to tell it and tell it authentically so that we can really know each other. So here's part of my story. I was adopted as a baby, adopted into a big, beautiful, multiracial family with a United Methodist pastor and teacher mom who were so far ahead of their time. You don't know it until many years later. My adoption was closed. I didn't know who my biological parents were. But in the last 3 months, I have discovered where I came from. In 1966, there was a woman. She was 24 years old. She was born and bred in Maine. She found herself student teaching in a segregated school in Norfolk, Virginia. She knew segregation was wrong, and as she had described herself, she had a somewhat rebellious streak in her. And as she drove around Norfolk, Virginia, listening to the radio, she heard this beautiful baritone voice, the voice of a DJ and a musician for a local radio station. She fell in love with that voice and started bringing coffee to that radio station. And a romance ensued, a forbidden romance. She was white, he was black. He was separated from his family in New York. He was married. As we heard earlier, they spoke of marriage. He would divorce and marry, but they couldn't. It was 1966, or it was illegal, of course, at the time in the United States. So she found herself back in Maine that summer, and she was pregnant. She called the radio station, found out that he had moved on. He wasn't at the station anymore. He'd gone to another city. Her parents didn't want to hear anything about her being an unwed mother, pregnant by a black man. But her brother, who had recently become an obstetrician, knew of a home for unwed mothers where she could go in Burlington, Vermont, and have the child. So there she was in January of 1967, giving birth to a baby boy. And when I talked to her on the phone for the first time 3 months ago, she said, I loved you the moment I held you, but I just knew I couldn't take care of you. But the social worker told me of this beautiful family who adopted international kids down, and they want to adopt him. And she thought to herself, that would be a wonderful family to grow up with. So I'm just beginning to unpack that story of how I came to be in this world. And honestly, it's a story of like gut-wrenching pain in some ways, and a loss of racism and what this country does, of regret. But on the same side of that story, there is so much hope. And it's a story of redemption, and it's a story of forgiveness and long-suffering love and sacrifice. You can't have one part of the story without the other. It's more than just my story. Now you've heard it. It's your story too. And each one of you has a story like that, a story of this that we need to wrestle and share. We need to know who we are on the inside of this struggle. We can't just put it out there as some kind of external forces we need to take care of. This is a deeply internal spiritual struggle we're going through, I believe. And so we struggle with the truth of terrible choices that we've made as individuals and as a society. And throughout history, the life-denying systematic racism and heterosexism and ableism and sexism, classism, the list goes on, that got us to this point right now. We have to be honest with ourselves in order to see the other side, the hope of resurrection and redemption. And seeing both sides of a story, or both sides of an issue even, should make us a little bit humble and thankful. We have to be careful not to be so smug and self-righteous, as I can sometimes be. That infects our way of being right now in this moment and in this movement. We have nothing to be self-righteous about. But you know what we do have? We have good news. We have very good news about a God who is in this world, who loves us, and is called Emmanuel, God with us. So that's why our present struggle for me is much larger than supporting the adoption of a plan at a special general conference. If our end goal is to find enough votes to have the One Church plan pass, we have set our sights woefully low. Our mission is not to fix the United Methodist Church. Jesus called us to transform the world, not the United Methodist Church only. We have an announcement to make, the inbreaking kingdom of God. And newsflash, the kingdom of God is not based on whoever has the majority of votes at the special general conference. Why do we put so much of our hope in this process? Well, our church in this country grew up with America, and the operating principle that democracy is how we work. It's the best game in town. It's our highest goal in some ways. But democracy is based on whoever has the most votes and the majority. And, well, Jesus is consistently with the people who don't have the most votes, the people on the outside of the majority, the people who are in the outskirts, the minority. So you do understand the cognitive dissonance of our present situation. We're hoping to be in the majority. And is Jesus there? I'm not sure voting is the answer, is the end game. It's one thing to vote on whether or not we change the color of a carpet, pass an amendment to a budget, or vote on rules of order. But it's quite another when we're voting whether or not to accept a whole group's basic human rights. As we've heard so many times in the past, in the church, you cannot legislate a person's humanity. It was wrong when we tried to do it in the 1840s with slavery. It's wrong when we tried to do it with women, the issue of ordination. And it's wrong now, and was in 1972 when this language was codified into our United Methodist discipline. But here's a credo that has kept me going through the years. It's a Jewish credo. I believe in the sun. I believe in the sun, even when it's not shining. I believe in the sun. I believe in the sun, even when it's not shining. It's not shining. I believe in love. I believe in love, even when I don't feel it. I don't feel it. I believe in love. I believe in love. I believe in love, even when I don't feel it. I believe in love. I believe in love. I believe in love, even when I don't feel it. I believe in love, I believe in love, even when I don't feel it. I believe in love. I believe in love. I believe in love, even when I don't feel it. I believe in God. I believe in God, even when God is silent. America and the United Methodist Church have come of age together. In many ways, the Methodist Church is the quintessential American church. We too had to break away, in a manner of speaking, from England to gain our independence. This independence helped us form a government where both lay and clergy are given shares of power. And like America, we have legislative, judicial, and executive branches. We even have a similar name, the United States of America and the United Methodist Church. But as W.E.B. Du Bois has written, we are actually the yet-to-be United States of America. And I would posit that we are the yet-to-be United Methodist Church. The Declaration of Independence is our founding document. Independence has always held a special place in our thinking and imagination. Independence is a powerful concept, and it certainly has its place. But I believe that the time has come for a change. We need new language, new eyes for seeing, new hands for holding on. The visionary Jeff Clark suggests moving from the word independence to interdependence. And I agree. That's why I think our church needs a declaration of interdependence. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all human beings need each other to survive. that they are inextricably linked to each other and to their Creator, and that all God's children are to be called beloved. There it is. The idea of interdependence isn't new, of course. It's found in the Bantu word Ubuntu. Ubuntu, meaning I am because you are, actually is a lot fuller than that even. Ubuntu kind of refers to this universal bond that connects all of humanity. So when I'm tempted to think of myself as a conquering hero, who is someone who is kind of going it alone, came here by myself, and I say something like, I alone can fix this. My story, the beginnings of what I just told you, and your stories, they humble me, reorient me, and remind me that I am not independent. I'm interdependent on all my kins and friends, and this church, and creation, and everything around me and in me, and it fills me with gratitude. We're caught, as Dr. King says, in the inescapable network of mutuality. And for better or worse, we are tied together in a single garment of destiny. Interdependence reminds us that we need each other in all our diversity to make it through our present crisis. I believe diversity is the key to interdependence. And I can't survive if you assimilate to my way of being. We lose the particular God-given gifts that you would bring and that we need to make it. We become less than. The queer community should be wary of assimilating into hetero world. I don't want to be part of a perpetuating hierarchical, patriarchal, sexist way of living. I hate to tell you that. I don't want to buy into this thing called the power of patriarchy just in order to get a seat at the table. It's not worth it. As Ruby Sales proclaimed last week, we don't want a few seats at the table of your power. And now I say that we need to make a new table. We need a new table with new seating arrangements. Okay, here's a song. We can put it on the screen. There's a song I wrote last year called We refuse to let hatred in, meaning we don't want hatred to be our operating principle. That doesn't work. Hatred will never drive out hatred. And so we resist to let hatred in. It goes, we resist, we refuse to let hatred in. We rise up, we won't back down. We're in this till the end. Sing that with me. We resist, we refuse to let hatred in. We rise up, we won't back down. We're in this till the end. We resist, we refuse to let hatred in. We rise up, we won't back down. We're in this till the end. And then the second part of the song goes, pray for your enemy, welcome the stranger, show love to your neighbor. We're in this till the end. We sing, pray for your enemy, pray for your enemy, welcome the stranger, show love to your neighbor. We're in this till the end. Pray for your enemy, pray for your enemies, welcome the stranger, show love to your neighbor. We're in this till the end. And indeed, we are in this till the end. The seats at the table, right, and our diversity, and what we value about each other, and what makes us so special. And there's something about gay people and bi people and trans people that have something beautiful and maybe unexpectedly special to share with the world. And it's inextricably tied and woven to who we are as sexual beings. I believe we have a capaciousness for empathy and a sensitivity to those around us. We have the ability to attune ourselves to art and beauty on a high level. We create magic. We're the ones at Hogwarts, y'all. We're at Hogwarts. Now, not to say that all heterosexual people are muggles. That is not what I'm saying. But in fact, those who can attune themselves to it find themselves in a position of making magic. So let me not, I will quickly rush not to stereotype all heterosexuals in the audience. But you have to work harder because society kind of pushes people out of that attunement and that openness. Closeted folks not only repress their sexuality, but often those heightened powers, that God-given magic, that medicine, and gets stifled as well. But of course, I mean, it's obvious to say, please, please, we need heterosexual people. I wouldn't be here without you. Come on now. It's a kind of important part of all of our stories. But let me say this, and please hear this. As James Baldwin pointed out, slavery took an enormous toll on both the oppressed and the oppressor. It wasn't a thing that just affected the enslaved. I believe that the oppression of the LGBTQ community takes a toll on all of us, straight and gays alike. You tend to lose your humanity when you're part of a hierarchy. Whether you're on the bottom just struggling for survival and human dignity and worth, or whether you're on top living out the scarcity principle in fear, who's going to knock you off? Always looking over your shoulder. So I would propose that we dismantle the hierarchy and tear down the walls of hostility that separate us. I'm getting ready to close. I'm a musician, Adam's a preacher. So I will cede my time to the next wonderful speaker. But let me say this in another song. Our present crisis in the church is not just a crisis within the church. You might have noticed that there's a crisis outside the church that's not only in this church but other churches. It's in our government. It's in other countries. It's in the entire world. We are living through a global spiritual crisis right now. We need to organize with the people around the world who believe in our declaration of interdependence, our declaration of Ubuntu. We need to make connections with those people who are interested in drawing the circles wide. We need to transcend faith boundaries and political and geographical allegiances. We need to transcend ages and races and abilities. We need a movement large enough to turn the tide of fear and patriarchy and nationalism and all the white privilege. This is a very large ship that needs to turn, and we can only do it with this power of love expressed through interdependence that we need each other to survive. How do we convince people that heartily believe in the values of independence and believe in the values of hierarchy? That's my question. It's my question to you. The only thing I've known to do all my life is sing. I've seen singing transform lives. I heartily believe we are United Methodists because we started singing, because something warmed the heart of John and Charles Wesley. Well, we know it did. He went and heard singing on Aldersgate Street. He heard singing. Thank God, Moravians. Thank you for singing. And so we need to continue to live our lives singing and being in the prophetic imagination of God, the prophetic imagination. We have to imagine what isn't here yet. It's our only way. So we sing. We sing like the Estonians and Latvians have been singing. I don't know if you've read the news, but hundreds of thousands of them have been singing to show that they will not be broken. They will love even though fear is all around them, and hate. So we sing with grateful remembering of our ancestors, those people who marched and sang for freedom in this country. We'll continue to tell our stories, all of our stories here today. Today is a big part of our story. Years from now, you say to your friends, I was there in Dallas, to say, yes, we need to find a way to stay in this together. So let us together raise our voices against the tide of injustice sweeping our nation and world. We will sing out, even though some of us have been scorned, disenfranchised, left out, abused. We know there is no thing that will separate us from God's love. Nothing will separate us from the truth that you're someone, you are family, you are meant to be a child of God. No matter what people say or think about me, I am a child of God. I am, but you know what? You are too. No matter what people say. Oh, you've got the words for this on screen. Say or think about you. You are a child. You are a child. You are a child of God. No matter what the world says, no matter what the world says or thinks about me, I'm a child. I am a child of God. No matter what the church says, no matter what the church says. Decisions, pronouncements on you. Decisions, pronouncements on you. You are a child. You are a child of God. Listen to the next part. It goes, and there is no thing and no one who can separate. They can't separate you from the truth that you're someone, you are family, you are meant to be a child of God. And we sing together, you are a child. You are a child of God. We have time for a couple questions if you.
Any questions? I've got a mic. It's a scary proposition in a room full of preachers. We have a request, not a question. One more song?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. I told you about the family I was birthed out of. The family I got adopted into, my grandfather was a Methodist, local pastor. My father, who just passed this year, was United Methodist clergy. My sister, she's Methodist clergy. Her daughter, my niece, is Methodist clergy. And my cousin, she's also United Methodist clergy. So it's been, Methodism is a thing in our family, which means singing is a thing. Let's see. No. This song is Jonah and the whale. Jonah's in the belly of the whale, and he asks, okay, I've messed up, I realize that. It's a reinterpretation of Jonah. And he says, can God's love find me even here after I've messed up? At the land's dark roots, in the farthest deep, where the daylight dims, where no one can reach, can the hand of God, can the voice of love find me even here? Find me even here. And it can be a call and response. So I say, I have turned away. I have set my feet. I have run too far. I repent too late. Can the hand of God, can the voice of love, and then together, find me even here, find me even here. Oh, to climb again where the eagle flies, where its nest is set in the sunlit skies. Can the hand of God and the voice of love find me even here, find me even here? Will the hand of God, will the voice of love find me even here? Oh, forgive me, Lord, may I see your face, may I die in peace with a song of praise. May the hand of God, may the hand of God, may the voice of love, may the voice of love find me even here, find me even here, find me even here. Amen. Amen. Praise God.